Hi.
Hello. On today's
you?
game of Where's Jess?
So funny because you play this game when it comes to the podcast, and then I play this game when it comes to work. My coworkers are always like, "You're always in a different house, always in a different room." So you get to play this role on the podcast. And today she is reporting live from
Ant's car. Ant's truck. It's nice and
You just
roomy.
said you're at PT with him?
Yeah, we're going to run some errands after, but I came with him to his physical therapy appointment, but I am sitting in the car podcasting.
Whoever said podcasts have any bounds?
No, I know.
You can do it anytime,
Could be
anywhere.
I mean, listen, I did it from Costa Rica. I think I can do it from the parking lot of PT, you know? But funnily enough, I'm on a hotspot right now. You should actually see my setup. It's kind of hilarious. I think I need to take a picture of it.
Yeah, please do.
Literally what my setup looks like right now. I have a podcast microphone in a car, and somehow the quality, usually Carly and I have to troubleshoot prior to every podcast, when I'm on Wi-Fi at home. But today, seamless. And I'm literally plugged into my computer charger is plugged into his truck. I have a tripod.
All right, let's not get so cocky so soon in the podcast. Just want to call it out. There's still a lot of slow your roll. For all I know, your laptop will die in 20 minutes because it loses batteries so quickly. So let's just pump the brakes. Be grateful that we're off to a smooth start. It is so funny, though. You have a lot of faith in that hotspot. I will say that.
I really do. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Full send.
Well, my laptop is situated on top of a laundry basket right now. So a girl that gets it done. Both you and me.
I feel like you should take a picture of your setup.
My POV and yours.
Yeah, yeah. It honestly is so funny. And that's, well, I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself about what we did this week or last week at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But it is cool to see the behind the scenes because you just see this, but what I'm looking at right now is just hilarious. And so, yeah, I think knowing that your laptop is on a laundry basket and seeing what you're looking at is just so cool. People just love the behind the scenes, I feel like. And so do I.
I was just going to say, so do I too. I'm always so curious about that. And I think it just also showcases nothing is as polished as it seems.
My God,
the things that people do just to make things work. You always think the product. I mean, for this podcast specifically, we intentionally took it away from the studio so that it did have more of an only human girl chat feel to it. And actually just yesterday, somebody was I've been loving the vibe of season 2. It really does just feel I'm listening in on my friends. But I think when you do see the behind the scenes, you get to just see the moments that aren't portrayed and aren't part of the highlight reel. And I think it just really encourages people to just do the thing, even if it doesn't look perfect, because the things that look perfect never are anyway, you know?
Oh, for sure. That just reminds me of, when people take a picture of their kitchen, and this is very specific, but they'll take a picture of their kitchen and then really it's all the stuff that was on the counter is on the floor behind the island, and you can't see all of those things, but it really just the behind the scenes, and that's why I love doing it, and I want to start vlogging all of our experiences and stuff, because it's so good and so only human coded to let people in on the fact that none of this is perfect, and just your video from Fox 29, maybe it looked a certain way, but it didn't feel that way. And so I think it's such a good point to say, when people are thinking about doing something or thinking about oh, I don't have everything in line, or it's not perfect, or I need this perfect thing, it never is, and it very rarely will be. I love it.
That's literally so on brand with what we're going to talk about today too, which we didn't even plan this. But before we get into the actual topic, which we're going to talk about imposter syndrome mainly, I think it would be I almost said cute. I think it would be cute. I think it would be cool to just quickly recap Fox 29, because we were on last Wednesday, right? Mm-hmm. And we're recording this Friday morning. It comes out on Monday, just to give everybody a little timeline. But that was a big deal. I mean, live TV is no joke. And I don't think I really understood the nature of the beast until I was in that moment, which is why it felt like such a heightened moment. And I had so much pressure. But how did you feel? How did you feel like it went?
So I don't know, because like we were on live TV before, so I'm having a hard time like associating it with live TV. I think it was just the fact that like I knew that Fox 29 was a really big deal, and
It was
not
a
that
bigger scale.
positively Philly wasn't a big deal. It was, but it just felt like I had never heard of Positively Philly before. I'd never watched it. I don't know anyone that watched it. So like it just felt a little bit less tangible, I guess. And so like knowing that Fox 29 was actually a really big freaking deal, and like the anchors are like no freaking joke. Like Alex has won Emmys. Like that was just like, I think set the stage for like a little bit more nerves and a little bit more of like worry, I guess.
I totally agree. It definitely had like a different feel to it. And when we went into Positively Philly, I think we were like just a little bit more naive. And also, the hosts are just two girls that are our own age. And it just felt like very conversational and
like,
what
yeah.
we do on the podcast every single day.
Totally.
Fox 29 definitely had like a different feel to it in a really good way. And I think like these opportunities are things that we're going to need to get comfortable with. So every single rep we can get, like we're willing to take, and it's good practice, but it doesn't change the fact that it felt really scary. We also like we're marketing it a little bit. And to me, when we post on our socials, both on Only Human and like our personal, hey, we're going to be on Fox 29 tomorrow, 7:30, tune in. That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Everybody tuning in, because if we didn't tell anybody and it was like a little bit of a surprise, I think I would have been like, all right, this is just kind of an unassuming, like some people will see it, some people won't. But the fact that we were like kind of blasting it out there, I was really, really nervous going into it.
Yeah. What do you think? So it sounds like, and this is not like a new thing, I think this has a lot of translation into posting on social media, but what do you think it is about friends and family seeing it that makes it more scary than just strangers? Because I think like sometimes those feelings are a little bit backwards, if that makes sense. Like these are the people that know you the best, that love you the most and support you, and so I think that they are going to be the least judgmental people. And so like what about that, if you can call it out, like makes it the most scary?
Such a good question. Such a good question. I feel like maybe two things. The first thing that comes to my mind is because we care more about their opinions, because we value them as an individual, we love them, and so we care. But two, if we do have this moment of failure or embarrassment, we have to face them more often, whereas strangers will never come into contact with them. And so it's like whatever they experienced, the version of me that they know or think they know doesn't apply, doesn't really impact me. But if we are like humiliated on live TV and our friends and family see it, then we're talking about it. Then they have that in the back of their head every time they see us. I think that's probably what it boils down to, at least for me.
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like that's also how it goes with like posting on social media and TikTok and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just like I'd rather a million strangers see my TikTok than like one person that I know. So
no, nothing is more mortifying than seeing somebody in person and then being like, oh my God, your TikTok's up on my For You page. I'm like, and no, they don't. That's not me. Keep scrolling.
No, thank you.
It is funny though. I didn't expect a lot of people to resonate with that video I put up about how I was feeling going into Fox 29 and throughout that whole segment. And I think it just really sheds light on the fact that I am not alone in dealing with this. It's actually a very common emotion for people to feel nervousness and imposter syndrome. Why do you think so many people resonated with that? Like, I guess it just shows up in every aspect of life, no matter what your circumstances. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think there's so many layers to it, and to that video specifically. One being, I think people resonated with it on a certain level, but I also think that they resonated with just the overarching theme of things looking different than they feel. And like people not necessarily knowing how you feel on the inside and you portraying a different version of that. And so maybe like they couldn't relate to that kind of performance anxiety, like being in front of people, but I think they can relate to like people think that I have it figured out, or maybe I come across like I do, but I don't. And I feel anxious internally, or I feel like I'm not deserving or whatever it is. But I also think that people really, so like when you see us on Fox 29, I think some people would kind of look at us and then feel a separation of like, I could never do that, or like put themselves, because they know us and they know us, you know, like personally, right? They may put themselves intentionally or unintentionally in our shoes and be like, wow, if that was me doing that, because I am just like them, I would have not been able to perform that way, or I would have been really nervous. And I think like that projection of them thinking about what it would be like to be in our shoes also resonates, because and I think it was really nice for you to like kind of shed light on, you know, how you were truly feeling. And I think, you know, people resonated with or loved the video because they resonated, but also because like you don't see that kind of vulnerability. You just don't.
Yeah.
You know,
it's funny because a lot of my friends and family after I released that video sent me texts being like, you would have never known you were nervous. And I'm like, well, then thank God that I said something, because again, our brand is called Only Human.
Yeah.
I never want to be facetious or lead or like mislead somebody, because it would be such a missed opportunity to have that shared human experience, to show that moment of vulnerability, being like, I was actually shitting my pants, not only just before, but usually the nerves subside once you start. No, I was shaking. I had to hold my hands together because I was like, I am probably visibly on TV shaking like a leaf right now. And so I'm glad that I spoke on it, because it's really funny, the power of perception and how we're our own harshest critics always. And so I thought it was like so evident the way I was like tripping on my words. I felt like I couldn't really like articulate the way that I typically am able to. Whereas other people looking from the outside were like, no, actually you came across really passionate about your brand and confident. And I just thought that's also funny, because I had a completely different internal experience than the external world.
Yeah, it is so hard when, you know, we're the ones that feel it. So like afterwards, maybe we didn't feel good about it, but that's not objectively like how it went. And so it's really hard to kind of like differentiate, like, I don't know, like when you put those two things together, it's hard to get like a real good objective opinion about like how it went. But I also just want to call out, like, we totally could have like just went with it, and like people thought we came across great, and then we could have just been like, great, let them think that, like, let them think that that's just how it felt. But like, you're so right that that's the Only Human brand, and that also does not accomplish our mission of helping others feel less alone. But that's not to say that there won't be a day where we're going to walk into something like that and we're going to be super confident, and we're going to show that side too. We're not going to always be like, woe is me, like I have imposter syndrome always. Like when there are times of confidence and there are times of like we crush that, then we're going to say that too. And I think that that's like a beautiful thing, to kind of be able to let people in on how you're feeling when it is not great, and also when it is, you know.
It's a great point, because you really are going to show up differently on different days. And I think my nerves specifically heading into Fox 29, it was a culmination of a lot of things. I've been like extremely overwhelmed and feeling anxious about a lot of different aspects of my life. So it showed up that way a little bit more dramatically on Wednesday. But you're so right. Like as we do more of this, and maybe when we're in different headspaces and the ebb and flow of just the human experience, we are capable of showing up more confidently. And that's okay too. It's not going to always be a consistent experience.
Yeah. It doesn't always have to be that how we felt didn't actually translate to how we came across. So I do want to call out that like I was also nervous. I'm kind of letting you have your spotlight here, but like I was also nervous. I feel like did a better job at keeping it in check. That's why I'm not giving you, but you were a rock star. I do want to just call out that like I make myself pass out sometimes when I'm nervous. I haven't really recently, but I definitely could have passed out. Like I was sitting there and there was like a little bit of like I don't want to say anticipation or build up, but like we were sitting on the couch probably for like 3 minutes maybe, which felt like an eternity. And then they were sitting on the couch with us for like a minute before we like started the segment. And it's just like we're watching the news guy Bob Kelly or like the weather guy Bob Kelly doing like
traffic
his thing, and we're like waiting for it to be our turn. And so like in that few minutes of anticipation, I truly, my heart was racing, it was beating out of my chest, and I just felt like just like my mouth was dry, and I just literally was saying to myself like, fucking breathe, like you are going to make yourself pass out on live television, like just breathe, like you're fine.
So we actually were having parallel experiences, because that's exactly how I felt. Like my heart, again, beating out of my chest, shaking, my mouth went dry. I was looking over at Tyler and I'm like, I know that we're going to be on air in approximately 15 seconds, but I think I need her to bring over water because I can't even talk right now.
Yeah.
Let alone I knew I was about to have to like, I don't know, actually put a coherent thought together. And I was like, I don't even remember my story. I don't remember why we started The Only Human Project. I'll be lucky if I remember my name. Who put me here?
You were about to say your social security number. Okay. That was funny. That was a nice little like we both definitely
loosened up a little bit.
We loosened up a little bit.
Thank God.
I appreciated that. Yeah.
Because I think we like to lead with levity. I know for me, if I'm ever in uncomfortable situations, like that is my personal brand. Like I am somebody who leads with levity and I let other people in on the joke, which is me. Like I make myself the brunt of the joke. So the fact that he kind of just like was able to have that moment of reprieve from like the seriousness and the build up was really nice. But I'm curious, in your head, when you are battling imposter syndrome, and we can kind of start deviating from like the Fox 29 example, or like nervousness, like what is that narrative that is like that you're telling yourself? Like what's that inner negative voice that's winning in that moment?
Wow, that was a hard transition. I'm
like, enough levity. Let's get to the seriousness.
Yeah, like let's do it. I feel like I have a little bit, well, I'm definitely stubborn, but I have a little bit of like stubborn confidence about myself that if I'm feeling imposter syndrome, I don't really allow myself to feel it. Like, because I'm like almost stubborn in the fact that like I don't want to feel like I'm just going to act like I know what I'm doing or I belong or whatever it is. And so I think that like when imposter syndrome does come over me, I think it's a result of comparison and a result of like, it's not so much focused on me, it's focused on like me in comparison to other people. So like, oh, this person, like, for example, like knows how to, like, showed up in an outfit that's perfect for this event, they belong here. Or like, you know, they look like they have confidence, like they belong here. And like that is a reflection of me. Like I'm feeling like I don't belong, but it's not like a narrative that I'm telling myself. It's kind of like, does that make sense? Like I'm projecting how I feel onto other people, not in a negative way, but in a way of like they seem like they know what they're doing, or they seem like they are more confident.
Yeah, which is funny because
it's kind of complex.
It is. Yeah, but essentially you're basing your worth or your inherent belonging based on like somebody else's external image and what they're portraying, which, you know, everything's a highlight reel. You know, from the outside, people look like they have it all figured out. But I mean, we have a whole brand around the fact that nobody has it all figured out, and they're probably having the same underlying emotions and experiences, but it doesn't change the fact that that alters how you feel on the inside in your worthiness to be there and capitalize on a certain opportunity.
Do you feel like your experience is different? Is it kind of like cyclical thoughts that you kind of have on repeat? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, for me, I guess it really depends. I think sometimes when I've experienced imposter syndrome in an environment like work, I just inherently don't feel smart enough. And it kind of boils down to not feeling like a subject matter expert, which is why client presentations make me feel nervous, and I experience imposter syndrome more in that environment than I would at, let's say, a keynote speaking engagement at a college where I'm like, no, this is my jam, or teaching Pilates in front of a couple hundred people at Seaport Pier. I'm like, I personally identify as a podcaster now, a mental health podcaster that really shows vulnerability, or I really identify as a Pilates instructor and therefore I can step into that role confidently.
Yeah.
Whereas work, I have this core belief that I'm not a consultant because I did start my career off in finance. And that's something that, my mentors at my firm are always trying to get me to like release that core belief, because they're like, what is a consultant? What is that?
Yeah.
What's the definition? And so I think that's definitely one piece of it, is like identifying with like the person that you're showing up as.
Yeah.
But for me, my nervousness always comes down to like this simple voice in my head that's telling me that I'm going to mess up. Because I think it really boils down to my deep desire for perfection. I've always been a perfectionist and a high achiever. And I think there's part of me that wants to portray that to the world. And I feel like there's an expectation of me to be perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've always felt called to, like, with Figured Outable and with the Only Human Project, like shed light on the fact that I'm not. But I feel like my inner voice still hasn't come around to that. It still wants me to be perfect and expects me to be perfect. So heading into Wednesday, it was like, you're going to freeze up on air and you're going to be humiliated in front of everybody. And everybody's going to know that you don't have it all figured out and you're not perfect. And that scares me.
It sounds like
sense?
yours. Yeah. And it sounds like your imposter syndrome seems to stem from more like knowledge-based things. So like when you have the knowledge of something, you can step into the confidence of, that thing. And so maybe it's not like this person has more confidence than me, and so therefore I don't belong here. It's more like, no, I know my stuff. And so then I can step into the confidence. But I'm just curious. It's going to come back.
You're good at that. When you like lose a thought, you literally just sit on it for a second and you come back. Whereas if it's gone for me, especially if I'm like recording a podcast, I'm like, and again, it's because I'm under pressure. If I'm under pressure, literally my mind, which is funny because that's like a reoccurring, I always talk about performance anxiety and feeling pressure around performance. Yeah. And as an athlete and like a former equity trader, you would think I like operate really well in high pressure environments, but like that is not true.
History has shown. No, I'm just kidding.
But for you, you're like put on the spot. You're trying to think of a thought, and you're like, and it came right back to me. Unless I'm jinxing you in this moment.
This is a podcast that like 12 people listen to, so like I don't know if I would call this pressure. And 2 of them are my parents. No, I'm kidding. No, okay, I think I got it. I think it came back. So I think as humans we have this desire to portray perfection to the world, and we don't really inherently want to let people in, and that doesn't feel safe, right? It doesn't feel safe to call out how you're feeling and kind of let people in on the fact that like you don't have it figured out, right? But obviously we do that here, and I'm curious if that helps you feel better. Because I'm thinking about people who may have the same tendency of like, I'm just going to fake it till I make it, but in a way of like not leading with levity, like just if people think that I have confidence, then great, I do. And I'm going to let them think that. So I'm just curious, like, I think for those people that feel that way, does it feel better to kind of let people in, or does it kind of allow you to crumble? Because I think that once people, like if people know that you're not confident, then they look at you a certain way and think that you're not confident. But I'm just curious, like, yeah, that it's kind of like a long-winded question, but I'm just curious if it's like detrimental because then other people seem to have a different perception of you, or does it make you feel more confident that people know the true feelings that you're feeling?
Our brains could not be more like interlocked, I swear. I actually was going to bring this up when we were talking about Fox 29, and then I lost the thought, and then you just brought it back.
To me
because such a good point, and I think it's situational. For me personally, there are times where I do have to really pretend that my imposter syndrome or nerves are not present in order to fake it till I make it. And people say that is 95% of life because it's mental and it's the narrative that you tell yourself and what you portray to the outside world. So I do think that's a very real tactic that people sometimes lean on in order to get through something, because if you're not showing that weakness or that vulnerability, it's almost like it doesn't exist if it
Yeah.
can't be perceived by others or
that's
your
true.
nervous system, right? Just pretending it's not there. However, I do think there's something freeing about letting people in on the fact that you are struggling in some way, shape, or form. It's cathartic. It does feel like you are kind of dropping the mask. And that's
Shedding
also
some
why
weight
we,
a little bit.
yeah, that's why we started the first like keynote speeches that we did, saying like, we're not public speakers, we are nervous, because it allowed the crowd to meet us where we're at. And that was a very liberating feeling. So it's funny, I think both tactics, while completely on the opposite ends of the spectrum, can be used in different times.
Yeah.
One is a little bit more raw and authentic because you're showing people truly how you're feeling inside. But I think it's almost more self-serving to pretend that it doesn't exist so that you yourself can just like get through the moment by faking it until you make it. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I do think that like the nervous system isn't stupid. Like I think you're still going to feel it at some point, even if you just pretend that you don't. So like that's where I think that, you know, letting people in, maybe it doesn't have to be the world. Maybe it doesn't have to be on live TV. You're saying, hey, I'm nervous, by the way. Maybe it's telling your partner or telling your mom, like, and just being like, I'm feeling really nervous, and just allowing yourself to release it. I think that there's so much power in that, and I found that so beneficial in like other parts of my life, because I feel like when we ignore feelings, they never go away. They just get stored for later use, and it's probably at a time where you don't want them to come. So I do think that there's, you know, on different scales, like you maybe don't have to like start a keynote speech of 250 people with I'm really nervous, but letting it out in some other way other than like pretending that it's not there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just speaking on the nervous system, like it's so funny. Obviously, I always talk about like biology, and like I do feel like in this modern day, we experience nervousness and, you know, anxiety more than ever before. And our nervous system really cannot distinguish between like, oh, I'm nervous about this upcoming presentation or like speaking engagement versus I'm being chased by a lion. And so I've heard of a lot of people using things like beta blockers to make those physical symptoms subside. So even in your head, you might know this is like a very high pressure situation and I need to perform, but your body and your nervous system isn't getting worked up because those physical manifestations are suppressed. So your hands aren't getting sweaty, your heart's not racing, your body's not shaking. And I do think that could be a great tool. I know we talk a lot about like holistic health too. And I made a TikTok about like SSRIs that was a little bit controversial. And we're always like the biggest proponent of everybody should leverage what makes sense for them. And if that is pharmaceuticals, but with the nervous system, I think it's just interesting to talk about tools like beta blockers that do help some of those physical manifestations like subside, because a lot of times it is stored in the body, like you said, and it's not always like the mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's exactly how I was feeling at Fox 29. Like I kept reminding myself and saying to you too, like we're just talking about us and our story. How many times have we done this? We're sitting down with two people and it's fine. Like, and it's, the funny thing is there's not a live audience of 200 people or however many people were watching. Like that would feel way more nerve wracking. And so, you know, like I think I try to combat those feelings and internal thoughts with like logic, but, and I was able to, you know, settle my mind down with logic, but my body was not on board. And so that's where I was like not breathing and I was like a little shaky and my mouth was dry, like things like that. So I definitely do think that it's a good tool, but I also like challenge myself to like, there's also just some, like that's not normal, right? Like
To work
not
yourself
that
up
it's
that
not
way.
common, but like it's not normal to not be able to like self-regulate your nervous system and like get your body like on the same page as your mind. And so like I said, while it is very common, it's also like not normal because we're not being chased by a lion, and that is exactly what the nervous system it was made for, right? fight or flight situations. And I think we
Yeah.
are just over leveraging as a society our nervous system and those fight or flight, you know, chemicals or whatever they're called. Like
We're like addicted to them. It really
and
is an
yeah,
addiction.
it's
They're
like
turned on more
crazy.
than they're turned off.
Yeah. And so I think it's just like a bigger battle to fight, but
Yeah. And it is total personal preference, but I do agree with you. It's like it in the moment on Fox 29, it was way more in the body than it was in the mind for me too. I wasn't mentally nervous, but physically I could not tell my body to relax.
Yeah.
But I do have medication that was prescribed to me from my doctor. This was probably like 6 to 8 months ago at this point, and I've only used it once for a client presentation, and I looked at it the morning of Fox 29 and I chose not to take it. I guess for a couple of reasons. Like, I do try to be as holistic as possible, but I also wanted to face my fears head on, because I think there's this notion that you only do things when you're not scared of them. And if I could count the amount of times that I've been terrified and had to do something anyway. And so I kind of made that conscious decision that morning that I was going to just raw dog it. And I was like, you know what? No, fuck that. I'm going to face this head on. And I did. Was it ideal? No. Did it go as good as it could have went? No. But that to me was more important than letting my anxiety or imposter syndrome win.
I think some people would feel like that statement is a little harsh, but I truly do believe that that's the case. And it's not like, I don't know, I'm trying to be like sensitive, but I just really do think that that is like, in that situation specifically, that is letting that win. Because it isn't a situation where you are like fighting for your life and like not able to like function normally. Like, it's just nervousness, right? Like, nervousness is normal, but like the next time we do something, if you take the medication and you did it for Fox 29, then it's like, okay, well then now I have to do without it. So it's like, once you can do the hard thing first, then the rest is easier. But I feel like that just further complicates it, because then how much more nervous will you be next time when you're like, I don't want to take it, but now I know I did well, and now I know I'm going to do worse because I won't have it. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yes. It's like a reliance or this fundamental belief that that thing allowed you to show up and have success. Yes. And that was exactly what I was going to say. Would it have been easier for me to take that pill and go onto Fox 29 and feel better for that day? Yes. But for me, one thing I always pride myself on, I'm always thinking about the long game. I'm always thinking about future me. And I think in a society that loves instant gratification, I try to go against the grain in that regard and be like, no, I want to make the investment. And so I want to get better at handling high pressure situations. Yeah. I want to normalize feeling the fear and doing it anyway and facing it head on. And so I know that it's going to take a while to work up to that point where I do feel truly inherently confident going into a situation like that. But guess what? I'm not going to reach that point if I continuously am using a crutch or like the training wheels. And so not going to say that that's everybody's tactic, but for me, I know that I want to get to that point. Yeah. And so I got to feel the pain a little bit for a little while.
Yeah. And I think that's really fair. And I think you're talking about it very nicely and saying that like that's just like your preference, and that's 100%. Not like a prescription or, the right way. But I think like whatever we do, we have to feel good in our own mind and body. And so like for you, that decision felt the best that day. And so that's
because it's all about confidence, right? And like I want to feel confident that I can do something on my own with my body, with my mind, and with that true internal belief. Yes.
Yeah. That is how the body is meant to work.
Exactly. And that's a personal preference. Yeah. I think just kind of like wrap it up. We've talked a lot about specifically the most recent example of Fox 29, but this can apply to so many things in life. It looks different for every single person. It can be giving that presentation at work. It can be, meeting a new group of friends for the first time. Like it really does.
Be calling to order takeout on the phone.
It can. do we feel like we have any like tangible pieces of advice or just like thoughts to kind of keep front of mind to just help people approach situations like this in a little bit more of like a calm mannered way and navigate them in the moment?
I think personally, I mean, it's not a perfect strategy, but I think with practice it will be. I personally like to combat my intrusive thoughts, you could say, with logic. And um I this is probably why I'm good at regaining my train of thought, because I lose it so often. Like, I don't know why. Like,
Practice
Michael
makes
Scott
perfect.
goes, sometimes I just start a sentence and I don't know where it's going to go.
No, literally me every time I open my mouth. I'm like, where are we going to go today?
Where are we going to land here?
That's the scary part. What were you even just saying?
Were you listening? No, I was saying that I try to combat my intrusive thoughts with logic, and I also okay, I got it. So, okay, I try to come back. I'm back online. Why?
Her hotspot just dipped
was
for a
lagging.
second.
If we edited this podcast, it'd be so much better. Remember when we used to cut out all of the pauses and the ums and the way that I lost my thought? Yeah, not anymore. You guys are sticking. You're along for the ride.
That wasn't human enough for us.
No, right. So, okay, so I try to combat my thoughts with logic, and then I also try to...
She's gone again. What the hell is going on over there?
I keep getting distracted by, like, talking.
Okay. Do you want me to go? Well, I'm like, I'll go. I don't have any tips, but I do feel like sometimes maybe reframing anxiety as excitement in the body can also just be a good reframe, because I think when we associate it with bad or negative emotion or wrong, it tends to just spiral a little bit. And if there's one thing, it doesn't feel good and you feel bad for it. And if there's one thing about me, I feel like there's always a domino effect. And so just that initial thought and that initial reframe can really help turn something negative into positive. And then this is a little bit of like just tough love advice. And we've already really talked about this, but like lean into the things that scare you, because you know what's even more scary? Avoiding them and never being able to face them head on. And I think sometimes we make things really, really big in our head the more that we shy away from them. So for example, if there's a really tough conversation that you know you need to have in life and it's been weeks now and you just keep pushing it off and pushing it off, every time you do that, it's just growing bigger and bigger and bigger in your head. And so I love, like, again, counting to 3 and just doing it. Or if it doesn't apply to that situation, like just making the decision or setting a specific date where you are going to execute on that thing that you've been avoiding because you're feeling the fear. So I really just think it's, with all things, repetition will kind of take the scariness out of it eventually, and just having full confidence that you will reach a point where you are doing the thing and you're feeling comfortable and worthy of doing it.
Yeah. And I feel like with anxiety, like, anxiety is actually a very normal feeling. And that's why, we have it for a reason, right? We have it so that we remember our keys, or we look both ways before crossing the street. And like, there is a purpose to it, but I think that we can very easily confuse like what it's supposed to be used for. And so I do love the idea of like reframing it a little bit, because it can be an anxious excited, right? And like, sometimes you're anxious because you just want to do the best that you can, or you just want to perform the best. And so
you care.
Yeah, and that's where like I think I'm kind of going with like reframing with logic. So the other thing that I was going to say was reframing with logic alongside calling out your feelings. So like being like, I'll talk to myself and be like, I'm feeling super anxious right now. but it's because I just want to do the best. And that's okay. That's fair. And I can want that for myself, but I don't have to get really crazy anxious and not sleep over it, right? Like, and kind of just like have a little conversation with myself, bringing myself down to like earth a little bit. Just being like, I hear you, body, that you are trying to like help me. And that's really what it is, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, but like anxiety and all of our emotions are just trying to help. And so acknowledging them and being like, hey, I see you. I know that you want me to do the best that I can. And that's why you're here. But I don't need you. Like, I'm good. And we're going to be okay. So, yeah.
I love
if you
that.
haven't
It's
watched
really
that,
a choice.
I feel like you should. Yeah, it is. And like, I think when we acknowledge things, like instead of just trying to ignore them or trying not to feel that way, in my experience, then that has allowed me to put those emotions away. It's not a perfect plan, but I think it helps me talk myself off the ledge a lot when I can say like, I see you, but like, we're good. Like, we can stand down, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I really do. I think that's a great place to end. And I know we have 2 more things to get through with this little podcast episode. First of them being our only human moments, which I'm still in my head going back and forth between which one I'm going to say. But you could go first and then I'll decide and go next.
Okay. Well, people might already know of mine because I made a TikTok about it, but it's a little relevant. I burnt my forehead with my curling iron the night before we went on live TV. It's not terrible, but it was definitely a lot more red. And I have never done that before. I've burnt my neck a couple times with a straightener, but like, you know, you can just hide that with your hair. No, this is just straight on my forehead. I think you can probably see it a little bit if you're looking for it, but thankfully it wasn't like crazy noticeable. But I was just like, and I wasn't even being careless. Like sometimes I do stupid things like that because I'm just like rough and like careless kind of. I don't have like spatial awareness. Like I bump into things all the time. But yeah, that was just, I don't know. That was just dress coded.
Day before going on live TV. It was not noticeable though, honestly.
Thank you.
All right. I guess I'll stay with the theme of heat and fire because why not? So I was at someone's house. We're making dinner. They were outside. I was in the kitchen. I was just like tossing this out. And this was actually the day we did Fox 29. It was Wednesday. So we had gotten up at 4:30. I had been also running on fumes for like weeks now. And I actually had probably 100 only human moments in that day alone. But this one specifically, there were sweet potatoes and broccoli in the oven. All of a sudden, the oven's like on fire. He comes in. He's like, the oven's on fire. I'm literally next to the oven. I'm like, what? Like, didn't smell it. Didn't notice it. I'm like, what oven? What? And literally, like, it wasn't up in flames yet. Like, it was fire, but the whole oven didn't like go up in flames. Like, he called it. I don't know. Honestly, maybe this was less only human of me and like superhuman of him. I'm like, how did you detect that from outside? Because he's like, I smelled it, I sensed it, but I was like completely oblivious, just in my own world, tossing the salad. So
yeah,
don't count on me
Fox 29
to detect or put out a fire. That's for sure.
God, you need to like stick a fire detector to you or a smoke detector to you.
No, literally
at all times to keep you safe.
Yeah. So I guess that was my only human moment. I also, when we were leaving for Fox 29, thought I left my curler on, made Aunt go back, and then it was off all along. So like, I'm just an overall ditz
only
right now.
Human moment.
Yeah, I'm just one big fat human right now. Oh my gosh. Well, this is going to be our last episode for a little while.
It is the end of season 2.
Coming to a close.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anything, you can count us in for abrupt endings.
Yeah. And we're done. Bye.
And by the way, this is the last you'll hear from us. I feel like we're just, with the summer coming up, we have a lot of exciting things going on, especially with like in-person events. And I feel like we're feeling very fulfilled from like in-person human connection, which is like obviously our main goal anyway, but we're just going to take some time to like really lean into that, really lean into the community and, you know, face-to-face interaction.
That's where the excitement is. I feel like that's where, you know, people seem to really be like leaning in. And I think only human, when we see people in person, they're like, oh, you guys hosted the Pilates event, or like I see that, and like they're never like, oh, the podcast. Yeah. And like heading into the summer season where we'll both be down the shore, there's so much opportunity to just put more time and energy there and just really nurture that and like making those in-person connections great. And so, yeah, we're just taking a break. It's the close of season 2. We will, stay in touch about like what season 3 looks like, when it's coming out, if it's coming out. But for now, I think we just need to kind of water where we think there's the most potential to grow. And that is in person and not digitally.
Yeah. Who would have known?
Who would have known? Us kind of all along. But like, it does feel weird not releasing something every single week. That's why we do the podcast. It's nice to have a consistent product out there. Yeah. But there's just so many podcasts out there.
There are a lot to choose from.
Yeah. Paradox of choice.
Yeah.
But all right.
All right. We'll see you next season.
We'll see you.
Maybe we'll be back in the studio. Maybe we'll be podcasting from Florida. Who knows?
But what we do know, we will be down the shore a lot. We have a lot of Pilates events coming up at Seaport Pier. We're going to be really leaning into like a whole little like shore aesthetic with journaling sessions on the beach, ice cream runs, group community walks along the water. Like we're really going to, get excited and do some things in North Wildwood, New Jersey. So definitely stay tuned.
No shortage of Only Human. Don't worry about that. You'll still see us all over your Instagram.
Especially with our brand new social media hire who is knocking it out of the park. But all right. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.
Bye.